Hi, I'm Randy Wooden, and welcome to another in our Edge Library series. This time we're talking to young professionals concerning your elevator speech. Now, I get questions, especially from younger people, about, well, what really is an elevator speech? How do I do those, and why are they important, and that sort of thing. So, what I'd like to cover in this segment will be to define an elevator speech, also what it isn't, and then try to give you some guidance and tips in terms of how to formulate your elevator speech. So first of all, by definition, an elevator speech is simply something that's short, concise, to the point, much like if you actually were in an elevator and happened to see someone get on the elevator and you don't know how far you're going to ride along with them, but you start up a conversation. You know that it will be finite in nature and you need to end it pretty quickly so you don't get into a whole lot of detail. That's an elevator speech, what it is in terms of length. What it isn't, and this is important, and I get this so often in my role, where people come to me as a resource. And while that's great that they do that, at some point, though, you've got to be aware of, I guess, social norms and not to get too kind of right in somebody like this and kind of crowd them. And I think a tendency sometimes for people is to be very direct. Obviously, you're in a job hunt, so you put somebody on the spot right then and there about, do you know of any openings, that sort of thing, and you sort of muddy the waters a little bit, and that's not good. So elevator speech is not kind of the tap them on the shoulder, hey, do you know of any openings, can you help me out? So don't go that direction. So for young professionals, how do you conduct an elevator speech? What are some things you need to throw in there? Well, first of all, I think you need to tell people where you stand right now. What is your situation? It could be that I'm about to graduate. It could be that I've recently graduated, that sort of thing. So kind of let people know where you stand on that spectrum. Are you still a student looking to make some plans for later when you graduate, or have you graduated and are conducting an active job hunt? Once you've done that, then you can mention a little bit about your background. And since you're young, you don't have a lot of experience, your background will primarily consist of your schooling. You might be an XYZ major from ABC University. And now what you want to do is, once you've given them that, so you've said essentially, I'm in transition, recent college grad, or I'm still in school looking to lay some groundwork for the future. You mention a little bit about your education. That may position you for certain types of jobs, especially if it's an engineering or an accounting degree or something that's technical in nature. But if it's a liberal arts degree and you get out with, let's say, a degree in history, and short of being maybe a school teacher and going back and getting an education, master's degree, that sort of thing, you're probably faced with saying, okay, now I have this degree, what do I do with it? Well, the next step then is to look at your desire for change, or what is it you really are looking to do in this case. So it could be that it's something as simple as saying that let's say you're an engineer, for example, that I would like to be able to utilize my engineering education to come in to a company and to learn and to grow and perhaps one day move into a management role and that sort of thing. But right now my primary interest is to get my feet wet, to get on the ground, and to build my career. Again, very light, very superficial. You don't name names of companies, that sort of thing. You can mention some industries that could be of interest to you. You might also mention some job titles, some sorts of things that you've maybe had an interest in. It could be everything from training, maybe, to ultimately managing people and looking to get plugged into a company where you can learn from the ground up, maybe in a management program. So again, it's very superficial. And then lastly, you want to convey to this person, what is it you want them to do to help you? What are some things that they can do? And if you literally are in an elevator, or you're in a situation where you don't have time to sit down right then and there, I think the call to action for you with this person is to ask whether it would be okay for you to follow up with them. You want to make sure you've got a way to do that, so jot that down or remember it, what have you. On the other hand, if you're already seated with someone, let's say you're doing an informational interview, and they say, okay, Randy, how can I help you? Your elevator speech is really not too much different from what you would tell them if you're face-to-face. The difference is at the very end of your elevator speech, you don't ask if there's time to follow up and get together, because in this case, you already are. So that's going to wrap it up for young professionals and some tips on your elevator speech and why it's important and some areas that you might want to pay attention to in that speech. I'm Randy Wooden, and thanks for watching.